Another video is starting here on the channel. Subscribe, like, and let's go for the unmissable content. Vimy studies design at college and has a twin sister named Zirhan, who studies finance. One day, Zirhan announces she's going to apply for an exchange scholarship, but suffers an accident and falls into a coma. Vimy decides to impersonate her sister and submit the application in her place, so as not to miss her chance. Meanwhile, Jan Lu, the most famous student and a straight-A finance student, is called to give a live lecture. Unable to find a room to change, he ends up changing behind a panel, at which point Vimy sees him and calls him a show-off. Soon after, she fills out the scholarship application and discovers that one of the requirements is that she must not miss any classes. She is instructed to submit the application directly to the president of the student union, who turns out, to her surprise, to be Jan Lu himself. She goes after him. In the studio, he asks for a volunteer on stage. Vimy is pushed and climbs up. During the broadcast, Jan notices that her dress is open and tries to discreetly inform him. But when he keeps staring at her cleavage, she thinks he's being naughty and slaps him in the face. Everyone is shocked, even Jan Lu, who quickly composes herself and saves the event. Even so, his fans are outraged and attack Vimy, who barely escapes. Later, working as a delivery driver, she runs into Jan Lu again and, to top it off, breaks his package. He recognizes her as the girl who hit him and calls her a stalker. She retorts, calling him a pervert. Jan explains she just wanted to let him know about the dress. Vimy, embarrassed, apologizes and offers to pay for the broken bracelet in installments, since it was expensive. But he refuses. The jewelry was a gift from his mother. Just then, his mother calls saying she only wants him to bring a girlfriend to the party. Hearing this, Vimy offers to pretend to be his girlfriend in exchange for paying in installments. John accepts, and the two go to pick out a dress for her. During the party, the two dance a waltz, and their hearts start to beat faster. Jan Lu introduces Vimy as her partner, which makes her mother extremely happy. Afterwards, they go looking for something to eat, but Vimy slips, and Jan Lu catches her, causing their faces to be pressed together, almost touching. Chia, a girl in love with Jan Lu, sees the scene, becomes enraged, and criticizes Vimy. However, Yanu defends her. At the party, we also meet Jan Lu's cousin Ziva and his best friend, Muzi. After the dance, Vayan and Jan Lu exchange phone numbers, and then Vayan goes to the hospital to visit his sister. There, he meets his best friend, Liu, to whom he tells her that in addition to attending design classes, he will also attend finance classes posing as Zirhan, since full attendance is required to win the scholarship. So, Vaya moves into the university dorms and meets Fame, who is not only her roommate but also the president of Jan Lu's fan club. Angry, Fame criticizes her for slapping him, but Vaya claims it was all an act and manages to escape the argument. The next day, during finance class, the professor asks the students to pair up. Since everyone wants to partner with Jan Lu, the professor asks him to choose someone, and he chooses Vamia. During break, Vamia has lunch with Guy, a friend of his, Sister Zarin, who begins to notice a change in his behavior. The next day, Vamia volunteers to help in the library and, together with Guy, begins organizing the books. Jan Lu shows up as president of the student council to conduct an inspection, but begins criticizing every little detail. Irritated, Vaya refuses to hand over the book he requested. At this, Jan Lu gets so close that he ends up cornering her between the books. Their faces are so close that they both become nervous. The moment is interrupted by a call from Luya, and Vamia quickly leaves. Later, Jan Lu's mother calls asking to get to know his girlfriend better. Wai Lu again asks Vamian to pretend to be her girlfriend, but she refuses and accidentally rips his shirt. Without money to buy a new one, she sews a flower into the shirt and gives him a t-shirt. Since the shirt looked stylish on him, Jan Lu decides to use it as a display and starts selling the designs, passing on a portion of the sales to Vimy. She even convinces him to dance to attract more people, and he accepts, but on one condition: that she agreed to have dinner with him and his mother after the event. Sales are a success, so Vimy buys food for Yanu, and they take pictures together, each keeping a souvenir. Upon returning to the dorms, Vimy finds Jay, who, upon seeing the photos, becomes sad. He's in love with Zirhan. Since everyone believes Vayman is Zirhan, Gil confesses his feelings and gives her a gift. Uncomprehending, she becomes confused. Lial advises Veyman to stay away from Yanlu, as being around someone so popular increases the risk of her secret being discovered. Vimy realizes she's right and tells Yan that she intends to pay off her debt and not see him or his family anymore. Desperate, Yanu proposes that she continue pretending to be his girlfriend in front of her family in exchange for forgiving the debt for the broken bracelet. She comes, accepts, and they both sign a contract. Later, Zay informs Yanu that Yanu's mother wants to see her. So Veya sends Yanu the location and heads to the meeting. While waiting, Zian and Vayan chat until a man on a bicycle pushes them, causing Zian to bump into a painter and destroy his work. To repair the damage, Vayan paints a rose on the painting, trying to restore it. At that moment, Yanu arrives, and Zay pushes Vayan into his cousin's arms, causing her to stain his shirt. Quickly, she creatively transforms the stain into a heart. Seeing her smile, Yanu is enchanted, and his heart races. Afterwards, the two have lunch with Yanulu's mother, who excitedly tells her they should already be engaged. Later that evening, Veya runs into Ji, who, having received no response, openly declares his love. However, she rejects him in a way that is uncharacteristic of Zeren, which begins to raise suspicions in Giwi. Suspicious, he takes her to an amusement park, where he confirms that she is not who she pretends to be. Upon being discovered, Vaymania reveals the whole truth and takes him to the hospital. There, she realizes that Gio's feelings for her sister are genuine and apologizes for deceiving him. The next day, the students participate in a field trip, and Vamian works as a partner with Yan Lu. During the activity, a bee appears and scares Yanukwa, causing them to accidentally kiss. The news spreads on the university forum. Some say it was an accident, but others claim that Gi's real boyfriend is Ji since they're always together. Jealous, Yonu confronts Jay and challenges him to a basketball game, but Vian roots for Ji, which hurts Yan. Zan realizes this and asks Vamian to talk to his cousin. He then confesses that his relationship with Jianlu is fake. Zian talks to his cousin and says that since it's all pretend, there's no point in him being jealous. Hearing this, Yanlu reflects sadly and leaves the game. Days later, Yanlu, who is Vamian, arrives at class exhausted. Concerned, he asks Lee what's going on, and she tells him that Vamia has no peace, so she works hard to support herself and pay for her sister's medicine. Exhausted, Yanu proposes that she move into his house and work as his housekeeper, offering 3 months' pay in advance. She accepts and brings a can of pepper spray with her as a precaution, but it ends up falling on the sofa. As she begins to work, she collects clothes from around the house, embarrassing Yanu when he grabs her underwear. He says he'll take care of it from now on. Shortly after, while exercising, he takes off his shirt because of the heat, just as Vayman appears. He tries to cover himself so she won't think anything bad, but he trips and they fall together on the sofa. At that moment, the lights go out and Yan accidentally sprays himself with pepper spray. He immediately comes to help wash his face. The next morning, Yanlu wakes up grumpy and criticizes breakfast. Later, Veya receives a call from Jejui, and the two arrange to meet at the hospital, where he reveals that there are rumors that she works for Yanlu. Upon returning home, Yanlu feigns illness so that Vian can prepare the soup she brought to the hospital. However, he ends up feeling truly ill, and Viman lovingly cares for him. The next day, she leaves to make deliveries but forgets her helmet, and the police confiscate her motorcycle. Yanlu offers to help her with the deliveries, but the orders are still late, and Vamian is suspended from work. Seeing her sad, Yanu buys a cake to cheer her up, but on the street he is recognized by some girls who take pictures of it. Back home, Yanu puts the cake in the refrigerator. Viman is so moved that she lights a candle. In recent years, she has only worked on her own birthday. The two take the opportunity to make their wishes in silence. Shortly after, Yu informs her that she has been selected to participate in a finance competition. He lends her his book so she can study and even offers to help her. They begin studying together until Vayman falls asleep. Ian Lu then carries her to bed and covers her with a blanket. The next morning, Vayman notices that several girls are wearing the t-shirt she bought for Yan Lu, so she decides to create a new model and produce copies to sell. While taking his measurements, the two become so close they almost kiss, but are interrupted by Yan Lu's cell phone alarm. Later, he announces that the competition will be broadcast live, which makes Veymin nervous as she feels unprepared. Distracted, she has an accident and ends up with a bandage on her arm. She uses this to ask the teacher to excuse her from the competition, which draws criticism from her classmates. Then, Yanu appears and says he will replace her. Grateful, they see him gifted with a t-shirt with a special design. With her injured arm, Yanu also takes over the housework and even makes breakfast. In gratitude, Vian makes lunch and takes it to the library. There, she sees that Zia also brought him food, jealous. She decides to leave. But Lu, a smiling bird, thanks her for the meal. On the day of the competition, Yanu wears the t-shirt Veymian gave him and wins the challenge, making everyone happy, especially Veymia, who begins to feel bad about lying to him. With Yanu's success, Jia and her friends invite Veymian to a bar, where they get her drunk, intending to embarrass her. However, Yanu appears and carries her home in his arms. There, his keychain falls off, and Veymia discovers it carries photos of the two of them. When Yanu returns to the room, she pretends to be asleep. He then kisses her on the forehead, which makes her blush. The next day, Yolu notices that everyone is wearing the same t-shirt as him, and deduces that Veymian made several to sell. He is disappointed, as he believed the gift was unique. Later, Fame Vivemia enters Yanu's house and takes a photo of her. Then, he threatens to release the image, claiming she is a stalker. Upon hearing this, Veya tries to grab Fame's cell phone, but in the midst of the jostling, a plant falls, and the finance professor catches the attention of both of them, especially Vemia, who believes she is Zara. He tells her she's no longer the polite and dedicated student she used to be and that she doesn't deserve the exchange scholarship. Faced with this criticism, Veya begs for another chance and, with difficulty, manages to get the professor to give her one. From then on, she decides to keep her distance from Yanu to avoid further problems. Veya organizes a farewell scene in Baijiu, which Yan Lu, still hurt by the t-shirt, criticizes the food. She uses this moment to say she's moving out because she can't stand his personality anymore and wants to break the contract. Sadly, Wai Lu accepts. Veya leaves in a heavy rain. Yan runs after her with an umbrella, but can't reach her. Heartbroken, she returns to the university dorms, unable to stop thinking about him. The next day, Moose tells Yan Lu that he heard rumors that he was living with a girl. Yang Lu then realizes that this was the real reason for Vane's departure, and decides to look for her. On his friend's advice, he takes her to a well-lit place and with a bouquet of flowers, apologizes for his difficult temper and his criticisms. Just as he is about to confess his feelings, Vimir receives a call from the hospital and, apologizing, bids farewell, leaving him devastated. As she walks away, fireworks light up the sky. Seeing this, Veya silently admits that she also likes Yan Lu, but cannot accept his feelings because he believes she is Zara. At the hospital, the doctor informs her that her sister moved her hand, a sign that she is about to awaken, and this fills her with joy. The next day, she and Lu meet, but pass each other without saying anything. She comes to believe that this distance is the best way forward, because soon her sister will be back and they will no longer see each other. Days later, during a group activity among finance and computer science students, Veymia injures her ankle. Yan carries her to the infirmary and applies an anti-inflammatory spray. His kindness makes Veymia's heart race, and unable to help himself, Yan Lua kisses her. When he notices she doesn't react, he apologizes. After the doctor's appointment, he carries her out of the room. Outside, Veya reveals that she saw his declaration of love and confesses that she also likes him, but says they can't be together. When Yan Lu asks why, she claims she's afraid of the fans' reaction. He interprets this as a lack of genuine feelings on her part and leaves, hurt. Days later, Mesu and Lu arrange a meeting between Veymia and Yu at the place where they first kissed. There, Yolu asks if she'll be his girlfriend and offers her flowers. She accepts with a yes, but at that moment a bee appears, and Veym shakes the flowers to ward it off. Yan interprets the gesture as an affirmative answer and kisses her, which she sweetly returns, beginning their relationship. Meanwhile, Gil is reading a book to Zuran when she suddenly wakes up. Faced with this, Veya decides to tell Yan Lu the truth. She sets a romantic scene for the revelation, making his heart race. But just as he's about to confess, Yanel's mother arrives unexpectedly and disrupts everything. The next day, the real Zarin returns to school. Already knowing that Anu is now her brother-in-law, she avoids all contact as much as possible, leaving him confused. Later, V calls him and asks to meet that evening to tell him something important. However, during the call, Jan Louvran walks by and notices everything. He brings the two sisters together, and upon discovering this, Vamia has no choice but to confess. Her real name is Vamia, and she pretended to be Zarinham because her sister was in a coma and didn't want her to miss her chance at the scholarship. Vem apologizes for lying and promises never to deceive Yanlu again. Despite this, he becomes irritated, remembering that she had many chances to tell the truth, but chose to hide it. Even so, Vamia doesn't give up and bakes cookies as an apology. In the end, the gesture touches Yanlu's heart, and the two make peace. Since everyone at the university still believes Vayman is Zerhan, they decide to keep their relationship secret and post on the school forum that they've broken up, preventing Yanu and the real Zarin from being associated. One day they go to a coffee shop, and Vamir runs into Zen, a famous painter recently returned from China, who is also his childhood friend. The next day they try to hang out, but Meswo sees them together and takes photos, which he later shows to Yanlu. Seeing them, he feels a twinge of jealousy, but explains that they are just friends. Meanwhile, Zerhan and Y celebrate his birthday, where Yue declares his love and asks her to be his girlfriend, and Zarin happily accepts. Days later, Yu prepares a romantic surprise for Vamir. He creates a special bracelet and decorates his house with flowers and candles. However, before she arrives, Chia calls crying, asking for help. Yan Lu goes to her, who tells her that she got beer on her clothes after bumping into a boy and asks for a change of clothes. Reluctantly, he takes her home and asks her to leave immediately after changing. However, Chia wears the very shirt Vamir had given her. Yanlu demands a change, but she refuses and begins to confess her feelings. Just then, Vamia arrives and sees them together. Hurt and frustrated, Vamia runs away, and Yanu tries to reach her but fails. He calls several times, but she doesn't answer. Sad, she cries all night. Realizing this, Chiquiña takes her to an amusement park to cheer her up, but on the way back, they encounter Yanu, who asks to talk. Vamia, however, doesn't give him the opportunity. Later, Yanu discovers that Chiquin was accompanying Vamia on a visit to her grandmother and decides to follow them to try to apologize. One afternoon in the countryside, Chiquia and Vaminia go out to paint, but upon returning, her grandmother informs her that Yanlu has also left and hasn't returned. Worried, Vea goes looking for him and finds the bracelet he intended to give her along the way. The truth is that Anu had lost the gift and hadn't returned because she kept looking for it. When they finally meet, he explains what happened that night with Xia. He confesses that he didn't attract her, and Vea admits she knew this but was upset because Xia confessed and he did nothing to stop her. Understanding, Yu apologizes, and she also apologizes for not listening to him sooner. The two reconcile, and he puts the bracelet on her wrist while Chikin watches, devastated. Days later, a fashion contest is held which Vayaman wins. To celebrate, she goes out to dinner with Yanu and Chikia. However, news of her victory appears on the university forum, and everyone discovers that Vayaman and Zerhan are twin sisters. The next day, Luyel tells Vayan that someone on the forum has always supported her romance with Yang Lu, and she believes it was Yang Lu himself. Curious, Van asks him about it and takes out her phone to confirm. Embarrassed, he tries to stop her, and they both fall onto the bed, where she realizes she was right and happily kisses him. Later, Yanu competes in a fencing competition against his rival, Rongil, who pretends to have injured her leg and blames him for the incident. Hongil's intention is to tarnish Yanlu's reputation, as they are both running for student president. Upon discovering what happened, Vian follows Hongil to a bar, where she catches him pretending and records the entire situation on video. She then confronts Hongil and threatens him. If he messes with her boyfriend again, she will release the video. Days later, she and Yan organize a t-shirt sale with their friends, donating the proceeds to low-income students. The gesture moves the school community, and Yan Lu is elected student president. To celebrate the achievement, Van prepares a surprise, and the two share a sweet and joyful kiss. Sometime later, Zen hosts an art exhibition that Vian attends with Yan Lu. In the middle of the exhibition, Yanu receives a call and leaves for a moment. She comes to observe the works and comes across one of her paintings. That's when Zin appears and confesses his love for her. Surprised, Vamian rejects him, claiming she sees him only as a friend. At that moment, the lights go out, and Yan Lu takes the opportunity to discreetly remove Vamian from the room. Outside, she asks him not to misinterpret the situation, and he responds that he understands. After all, it's not her fault she attracted other people. Meanwhile, Fan, rummaging through Zen's belongings, finds a medical record, discovering that Zirhan had been in a coma. She tells Zia everything, who, connecting the pieces, realizes that it was Vamia who took her sister's place. Furious, Sia threatens to reveal the truth if Vamia doesn't stay away from Yanlu. However, Yanu appears and makes it clear to Sia that no matter what she does, she will never be with him. Chia, hurt, walks away, but Funmi remains and records Vamia at the exact moment she admits to having impersonated Zirhan. The video reaches the school administration, and Vamia is summoned along with Zen. She admits to lying, but asks that both Zen and Yanu be spared any blame. Even so, the principal reprimands L for not reporting the hoax as he was student president, and removes him from his position. Feeling deeply guilty, Via decides to leave the university so as not to harm anyone else. Upon learning this, Yanu tries to stop her, but she ends the relationship in tears, breaking both their hearts. Still, Yanu doesn't give up. With the help of his friends, he devises a plan to defend her. He asks Zen to post an explanation on the school forum, revealing that Vamia pretended to be his sister, so that Zara wouldn't lose her chance at the scholarship. The students' outcry is so great that they pressure the principal, who eventually authorizes Vamia's return to the university. Happy with the news, Vamia goes after Ian Liu, but he, still hurt, tells her they are no longer a couple. She apologizes, but he replies that those who truly love don't abandon someone so easily. Aware of her mistake, Vea decides to win him, back with the help of her friends, planning a romantic surprise, but he doesn't show up. The next day, Zen says goodbye to Vamia, as he's going to study abroad. They part as good friends. Xia apologizes to Yanlu for the trouble she caused, and the two part on good terms. Vamia, on the other hand, doesn't give up and prepares another. Surprise for you at the place where they shared their first kiss. There, she reveals that she decided to distance herself because she didn't want to hurt him with her own problems. She was afraid of becoming his weakness. But now she understands that loving someone doesn't just mean having a weakness, but also a strength. And from now on, no matter what challenges they face, they will be together to face them. Upon hearing this, Yanlu promises to always be by her side. The couple seals their love with a kiss. In the end, we see Yanlu and Vamia happy and in love, as they share the news that Gio and Zerhan have received their student exchange scholarships. Thus, this story concludes. So, did you like the video? Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tell me what you thought in the comments. Kisses, and see you in the next video.